All right, lesson 22 is on solving equations using algebra. Good news, we've already been doing this. We're just going to really focus on the rules right now. It says we're transitioning from tape diagrams to using algebraic manipulations, but it should look really familiar. Let's just kind of like really focus and practice it because this is a skill you're going to need for the rest of your math careers. And I promise you, if you stick with it and you practice, this will become very easy. Maybe not start out that way, but I promise it'll get there. Okay? So we have some steps to solving two-step equations. And guys, these are just my steps. They're just things that I kind of the way I say them. Okay? So I just want to kind of put them out there. So you're going to hear me say this over and over and over. Okay? The first step, okay, is we have to simplify, and we're going to spell correctly, each side, and I could say of the equation, but I'm going to say of the equal sign. Nope, I want to say equation. All right, and I took this for granted when I say each side. People don't necessarily know what that means, but there's an equal sign, okay? And it doesn't occur necessarily right in the middle. But when I talk about each side of the equation, I'm talking about the left of the equal sign and the right of the equal sign. So focus on that equal sign when you hear sides, okay? We need to simplify it using our distributive property or gathering like terms, okay? And maybe I'll put that little note under there. Distributive property. Adding like terms. Etc., etc. Okay, and we'll practice that. Then we have step number 2. And again, guys, if you're like, wait, I'm not done writing down step number 1, pause it. It's okay. All right, step number 2, we're going to solve for the variable term first. Sorry, probably should have like typed this. Now, what do we mean when we say variable term? Okay, variable is that letter, all right? But it's more than that. It's a symbol representing an unknown number. Okay, so we're going to find that variable, that letter, and we're going to solve for that term. Meaning if there's a number out front of it, we're going to solve for that. And basically, what we're going to do here is we're going to work order, and I'm putting this way at the bottom because I got to write some stuff in here, order of operations backwards. Okay, think about it. If you lose something, you retrace your steps, right? Like, oh, I had it earlier this morning. Where have I been since then? Okay, I lose my keys at school here. I'm wandering around. I'm like, oh, I was in the copy room. I went to the office, but I'm going to retrace my steps. So if we're trying to figure out this variable, this unknown term, we're going to go opposite of the order of operations. Okay, we're going to be a problem solver. We're going to retrace our steps. So normally, when you think of PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, all those things, normally the last thing we deal with is whatever's being added on, subtracted to whatever, subtracted from. That's what we're going to deal with first. Okay, so we're going to solve for the variable term first in this two-step equation, and we're going to use addition and subtraction first. Put or, addition or subtraction. And a lot of this will make more sense when we get into, sorry, that's subtraction, when we get into actually solving them, okay? So just stick with me right now. All right, then step 3. So now we've solved for the variable term. Now we're going to solve for the variable. Okay, so now we're into a one-step equation. This is a two-step equation. We simplify it. We get rid of whatever's being added on or from or to or subtracted, whatever. And now we're going to solve just for the variable. And to do that, we're going to use The next step up in order of operations, multiplication and division. Okay, sorry, my sloppy writing there. Okay, order of operations backwards. We're retracing our steps. We're going to be a problem solver. Okay, so I'm going to move on. If you need to, pause and write all that down there. Okay, so let's get to our example here. Jenny is on the swim team, is on a local swim team for the summer, and she's practicing 4 days a week. The schedule is the same every single day. The team swims in the morning and for 2 hours in the evening. She swims a total of 12 hours per week. How long does she swim in the morning? All right, so what do we got going on here? She practices for 4 days. They swim in the morning, and she swims for 2 hours in the evening, and it's a total of 12 hours. So let's write down what we know. We know she swims in the morning and the evening. Well, we don't know what she swims for in the morning, so there's my variable. There's my M. Okay, that's our unknown. That's what we're trying to figure out. And the evening, she swims for 2 hours. And I know she does this every day for 4 days. And that gives me a total of 12 hours. Okay, so this should seem familiar to the tape diagram things we've been doing. Every day she swims in the morning. We don't know how many hours, and 2 hours in the evening. M plus 2. That represents the number of hours she swims every day. But she does that for 4 days. And if we count that up for 4 days, we know it's going to add up to 12. Okay, so now we have our equation. Let's go to our steps. Simplify each side of the equal sign. A lot of times, you guys, you're going to see me identify my equal sign. Okay, kind of build that wall right there at the equal sign so then I can see left side, right side. My right side just has a 12 on it. I don't have to simplify anything there. Done. But I can use the distributive property on the left side of my equal sign. Remember to use the right tool. But remember, this is 4 times m, so that's 4m, plus 4 times 2. This is not just 4 times m, it's 4 times everything in parentheses. And 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, that equals 12. Don't add these together, they're not like terms. And that side simplified. So now, step 1, check. We've simplified each side. Now we're going to solve for the variable term. So find your variable right here. So I'm going to solve for this whole thing right here, 4m. That's the variable term. So I'm going to get rid of this 8 using addition or subtraction. Remember, we got to undo things here. So if I'm adding on 8 or I'm thinking of it as a positive 8, how do I get rid of that? Well, I subtract 8. You can do whatever you want, adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing to one side of the equal sign, as long as you do it to the other. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other, and you're going to hear me say that a lot. Okay, now we just bring everything straight down. Bring down my 4m. Now look right here. 8 minus 8. That's adding a 0. Does adding a 0 do anything? No. So normally, instead of writing that down, if you wrote it down, it's not a big deal. I cross it out. Okay, that gives me nothing. Okay, I'm done. It's gone. And then I'm going to go 12 minus 8, or 12 plus a negative 8, which is 4. Step number 2. Check. Step number 3, now we solve for the variable using multiplication or division. Well, we undo things here, right? This is 4 times m, even though we don't write that. So now we have to divide. You always divide by whatever the coefficient is, okay? If we're multiplying, we'll work on examples like that too. So I'm going to divide by 4. Why? What is 4 divided by 4? 1. This ends up being 1m. That's why we divide by the exact same thing. I don't usually write this one there. It's there, but I usually just like, yeah, cancels out. Equals, now if I divide the left by 4, whatever I do to one side, gotta do the other. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. So, if we want to know how long she swims each morning, she swims for 1 hour. Okay. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're going to be working on, the steps to solving two-step equations.